And we are up. We are full screen. Hide whatever this is. All right. Hello and welcome to episode 8 of the Second String Debate Team podcast. It's me, Javin. You two can introduce yourself at any time. Why is this so goddamn hard? Guys,
Paige is coming at you from an undisclosed location. Alex coming at you from Thornton, Colorado.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and we are once again recording in the Corona Studios. If you guys watched last week's episode, we basically brought you along on a drinking game where we did our best to not mention the coronavirus and have a little bit of a lighthearted time around it. That is not what we are doing today. We are jumping back on the bandwagon of the COVID-19, and here we are.
Yeah. So I'm going to preface this. I don't really care what your opinions are on Trump, but I have a very strong opinion on what a good leader should be, and that's not divided, or that's not based on party lines. I think ultimately, a good leader, and I think, Javin, you can definitely attest to this, that a good leader should be somebody who stands up and takes responsibility. I mean, a little while ago, you and me talked about, you had a leader who kind of shit the bed because it was always somebody else's fault. And I'm just watching Trump on all of these task force broadcasts, whatever. And I just keep seeing somebody who keeps defaulting responsibility. And to me, as the leader of the free nation of America, I don't care what you actually think as the leader, the buck stops with you. And it's really pissing me off to have somebody up there who just keeps passing blame and not taking responsibility and just not doing what should be done in a situation like that. I don't know what you guys think about that, but it's pissing me off to watch that.
So, ideally, would it just be more accountability from Trump that would make this situation better for you, or would it be more than that?
Well, it would definitely be more than that. I mean, action is definitely necessitated here. But the accountability part is just pissing me off. It's a trigger for me. It's definitely a trigger, but there's definitely action required. And I don't think we did a great job of it.
You sound like a president.
No, but he has the ability to do certain things. I mean, you're already kind of upset that he took some, asking us to stay at home. That's the reason we're doing this podcast
You didn't ask
now.
us to stay at home in Colorado. Jared Polis, our governor, asked us to stay at home.
Exactly. Trump didn't do it. Polis did. Why? Because Polis is probably a better leader.
Sorry, I forgot my
I
mic.
don't think you and I are on the same page, Alex.
I don't think we are either, sir. I would love to hear your
Why don't we
opinion.
turn those pages together, guys? Why don't we meet?
Are we about to get divorced after this episode? Is that what you're saying?
I hope
This is a
not.
marriage counseling.
Is there a divorce meeting?
Come on, guys.
No, counseling. I'm not going anywhere, Nate.
Come on, just
All
meet in the
right,
middle.
that's good,
Meet in the middle. Give him a kiss. I'm sorry.
babe. There we go.
Alex, that was a lot of shapes before you found the one you wanted.
Arm.
Alex was just like,
First I had to be-
Wu-Tang.
I got married, and then I had to go hard.
Alex, just don't have gang symbols.
Wait, did I just do the Crips or the Bloods? Are they going to shoot me?
I might.
Right now that you brought it up.
Yeah.
All right. They probably weren't thinking about it until you open your mouth.
God damn it. I watched Dave last night, and that's all I can think about now. You do instant.
Serious episode.
So Peaches, though, they told you to stay at home. That's what they told you.
Yeah.
Polis on his high horse up there. He told you to stay at home.
Are you provoking me, good sir?
Why would I do such a thing?
What your thoughts are? That's the whole point of this podcast.
Yeah.
Provoke him.
It's
How
times
dare
now.
he? Would we ever do such a thing?
It's times now that Facebook or the quote you see going around Facebook is probably actually really something we should consider, right?
What's that quote?
I can find it. I don't know it verbatim.
Well, give us the paraphrase version.
Old English. Those who are willing to give up freedom for safety deserve neither.
Okay, what do you mean by that? Is that something are you supporting that idea? Or is that just a quote that you're throwing out?
Well, I referenced it for a reason, right?
I'm trying to get at why you referenced it.
Yeah.
Guys.
Yeah, I think regardless if people say the coronavirus is or isn't a big deal, I think people are very apathetic to what's actually happening right now.
But what is it that is actually happening that you're seeing? Like, what is it that you're referring to?
Yeah, so 2 podcast episodes ago, I said, in times like this, we see a trend within the government that what they do is they use these moments to push more government and take away more freedom of the people. Once a law or procedure is suspended, it tends to not come back to the way that it used to be, and it's almost like they've already begun indoctrinating us to this idea, where many people are saying this is the new normal. This is it, at least for now. But sometimes we don't always hear the for now part. You'll hear somebody in Trump's cabinet or one of the doctors or specialists he's working with. They'll just say this is our new normal and leave out the for now part. But I'm just seeing a lot of people sit back and they're just okay with what's happening right now.
Well, what should their reaction be? You think? What reaction do you think they should have? Is there something they're doing or what? Like, how do we approach that as a society? Do you think?
Or you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. I can't make somebody care.
But
in the way that I care, I can't make somebody's views go that way. The information's already there. The mindset has just been swayed so dramatically on such a large scale that I'm not sure unless somebody who had the same amount of power or more could do.
Would you mind giving me an example of like what you're referring to in terms of like taking away freedoms and again that idea of being apathetic towards what's happening?
Yeah. So apathy, for lack of better words, is something is important, but you don't care. So you recognize that it's important, but you just don't really care.
Well, I mean, in regards to the situation right now. So are you? What I think you're trying to say is the idea that we're supposed to stay at home is a problem.
What I think is, if you could have let me finish, I would have been happy to expand upon that idea. I do think that the government sitting down and telling you're not allowed to meet with groups larger than X counts. Remember this.
Remember, we're all here.
We have to sleep in the same bed tonight.
We don't need these microaggressions going on between you guys. It's just gonna.
Yeah. Why don't I derail anything?
No, I think people. I don't know. The right to assembly, the right to movement, government accountability. you know, and I'm not even, I mean, it is the Constitution, but the Constitution has been damned for a while now. Nobody uses it. They don't care. You know, we got the Supreme Court for that, right? What I'm saying, you know, basic human rights, you know, founded upon natural law, you know, Thomas Aquinas, whoever you want to quote, you know, people are seeing this coercive restriction and saying, well, it had to be done versus, you know, if that's your argument to me, it had to be done. This is a big deal. It had to be done. The government had to come in and coercively force people through the threat of violence and action. I mean, if you disobey it within Dallas County, Texas, they will forcefully fine you and confine you into a cage if you don't follow it. And people are okay with this. I don't understand that.
Well, I mean, yeah, continue, I guess.
Okay. I just don't understand it. You know, to me, if that's your argument, you know, right now to say it's going back, I'm going to quote it the same exact thing from 2 episodes ago, right? If you tell me it's for the greater good, it had to happen, in my eyes, you're saying mankind is too dumb or evil to willingly come together as a community to take this, that you had to have the government take action against its own citizens. That's all you're saying, is people are dumb and stupid and evil. That's it. That's your argument.
Can I ask you this question? I'm just trying to, like, grasp my head around exactly what you're saying. Are you saying that if left to our own devices, humans would have quarantined on their own without the intervention of government? Or are you saying that
the capacity to do that? Yeah.
Okay. So I just want to be straight with you. You're not saying that the idea of self-quarantining in and of itself is a bad idea. What you're saying is the fact that the government implemented it and made it a mandate is what you have the issue with. Is that correct?
That changes everything. When people voluntarily do it, that is a good thing. When they come together as a body, independent, free-minded, willing to come in and do this, that is good, because that is how humans are supposed to work. The government, however, is not supposed to do that. They are not to tell their citizens, you cannot move, you cannot assemble. And guess what? We're going to violate your privacy. Your cell phone data is going to be tracked. We're going to make sure you're obeying our rules. And if you don't, we will come to your house and we'll use force against you to make you give us money, and we will rob you, and we will put you in a cage if you do not follow this. That is wrong.
Now, you just said cell phone data. Are you referring to something like more epidemic outside of this situation? Or are there sources that are saying that they're actually tracking us from our cell phones to make sure we don't coagulate together?
El Paso County in Colorado literally just said that they're going to start using cell phone data to ensure that people are actually complying with the stay-at-home orders. And on a larger scale, giant media, giant tech companies like Google and Facebook are also talking about doing this with our own federal government as we speak.
Well, that's scary. I will be going offline now, guys, so have a good rest of the podcast.
All right, so...
No, that is freaky. Like, I mean, I know we all kind of know the NSA pays attention to us, but, you know, typically if you're not doing anything wrong, there's nothing to worry about, per se. I know Peaches has a discerning opinion about that in and of itself, but this is one of those things where it's like, oh shit, I went to the grocery store and now there's 70 people here, there's only supposed to be 50, and if they're tracking us, what you're basically saying is you could potentially be in trouble because you did that.
Mm-hmm. You go to meet up with a friend to go for a quick hike, they could see that. Now, this isn't going to be used to, from what I understand right now, the way that the county in Colorado is going to be working, is that it's not going to be to punish those particular individuals. It's going to tell our governor, who made the decision for stay-at-home orders, it will tell him if he needs to be enforcing stricter rules.
So are you worried about? I know we brought this up a little bit ago, but martial law, like, is that where we're headed? Do you think?
I told you 2 episodes. We have martial law. We have the suspension of the Constitution, and a lot of the National Guards have been activated. And I think I have an article right here that says police and military began door-to-door searches throughout New York to hunt down people seeking refuge. So, when we had the suspension, we had essentially medical martial law, 2 episodes ago. And now what we have is kind of just full-on martial law at this point,
Well, I think when people think of martial law, they envision Humvees on the streets. Now, yeah. I see what you're saying, but do you think we're headed to the point where we'll start seeing Humvees on the streets?
Yeah, we'll probably end up seeing a bunch of, I don't know, probably just a bunch of MG walking around. I think we'll see very few military. I think they're going to be used for a very specific purpose. But then again, I don't know. We could see that. We could see road stops, and we could see Humvees down the street, and everywhere you go, you have to have a piece of paper or some reason to be out, and you're going to be explaining to dudes, in full uniform, with weapons strapped to their body. I think it's a very possibility. I mean, the fact that, in my opinion, they reacted as much as they did still astounds me more than anything. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not too worried about the military, though. Well, I'm not worried about National Guard.
Be careful about what you're about to say, bud.
I'm worried about FEMA and local law enforcement. That's what I'm worried about.
You want to know something creepy? So, I know, some conspiracy theorists have made these discussions based on the fact that FEMA has these pre-built giant containers.
No.
Basically for.
Oh, I got something.
Oh boy. Oh boy, what have you done? Why was that so quickly accessible?
Paper,
What? Do you just have that in a boot? Is that always tucked into your pants or something? You're like, hold on, my red folder.
That's all I carried around for.
No, dude, it's in his left pocket. It's not in the folder.
That's a.
Alex, go ahead and continue with what the conspiracy theorists are
well, okay. Well, the point that I was getting into was one that FEMA has these pre-built containers, basically for mass burials. And
they're not containers.
What's funny about that is if you drive down I-76 in Denver. Now, I can't confirm that this facility is a FEMA facility, but there is a mass of these type of container-looking things just sitting there. Just sitting there. Now, I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's for the zombie apocalypse, but me being biologically minded, I'm pretty sure those are for, mass pandemic episodes. The crazy thing is, they're only, 10 miles away from my house.
Well...
All right,
better move.
Right here, what we have is patent number 5425163 from the, where did I get this from? Whoever holds patents. What we have here is, there you go. What we have here is the patent for a multifunctional cremation container for a cadaver.
Right. That's what they look like.
Okay, so yeah, they're coffins that, if you read through the whole patent, here, real patent. If you read through it, what it's designed for is the transferring and containing of bodies that have severely contagious diseases. And the containers specifically were designed to carry it, isolate it, and burn whatever is inside of it without releasing too many toxins into the environment. That was the whole purpose of these containers. And yes, every state has at least one. I think Colorado has 3 of these supposed FEMA camps. That has been going on for a very long time. Now, the fact that we got all that conspiracy, and then we got what's going on with COVID-19, I am actually very surprised that not more people, at least the conspiracy theorists, are going up and bringing this up. So, Alex, thank you for that.
No, but again, I think part of the reason why that is because the conspiracy theorists latch onto a zombie virus and not their intended purpose, which I believe is really more for pandemics. So to me, the conspiracy, the reality of it is a little bit more benign than what conspiracy theorists want, which may be why they're not jumping on the bandwagon for it.
Okay, real quick, before we go too far into conspiracy, I have a question for Peaches. Okay. And it was kind of what we had discussed a little earlier about, you know, from where I stand, you know, I innately want to say, you know, fuck all the quarantine, everything, you know, all these government regulations. I don't like it. It's infringing. You know, no, this shouldn't be happening. But there's another part of me that I don't know if I'm taking the, you know, actual pandemic itself seriously enough. And I'm just kind of in that gray area where I don't know really where to draw the line on, you know, the liberties and freedoms that are being infringed on, and, you know, what I might not be taking seriously enough as a public health concern.
Well, think about what we just discussed, right? That, when you're going through and thinking if you're taking it seriously or not, every person should think like a human being. And if you don't want to get sick, or if you know you are sick, or have the ability to get somebody else sick, just be a human being. Stay inside, right? If you know it's flu season or COVID-19 season, and you are outside, try to minimize distance if you know that it's that type of the year. And when you get home, wash your hands, don't touch your face in the meantime, etc., right? Be a fucking human being. That's it. How do you feel about human beings being able to handle that capacity?
I mean, I would hope that human beings would be able to regulate themselves like that, without the help of, or without without the force of like government or anybody having to step in to basically tell them like, hey, wash your hands, you dirty motherfucker. But I really don't know. Like, I hope that our society is not that stupid, and this is just really our government showing like how much power they really have. Because if people really are so dependent on their government that they need to be reminded of simple hygiene, then we're in a bad way, I believe. Like,
well, I don't think there's a problem with reminding people like what precautions to take with this specific disease. So reminding people like, hey, wash your hands, don't be in large groups. I don't, you know, not all of us we're not all educated. I mean,
no.
To that extent, I don't have a problem with the government coming out and being like, hey, these are health concerns that for this specific disease, you need to take those parameters.
Well, yeah. I may have misspoke. I don't think there's anything wrong with that per se. It's just when it escalates to the point where it has, where a society of supposedly free people are just surrendering right after right after right because they're being told to in the name of health. I don't know. It's alarming.
Well, can I ask you this then, Jevin? I feel like Italy is probably a pretty good example. I mean, they're a free country. They were told to do certain things, and we all saw what happened with Italy, where it was basically left up to the public to make those decisions until it was too far gone where the government had to step in because of how bad it was. So I just pose you that question where it's like, yeah, you would hope that everybody takes those precautions, but the reality of it is There are idiots in the world. And it only takes a couple idiots to fuck it up for everybody.
But no, that's really cynical. I'm not going to say that. I don't know, but I mean, Italy. What happened in Italy too was because, you know, they were understaffed and, you know, overworked medically was a big part of their problem. But I guess, you know, that did like shift the platform for how the world started to react. You know, because they were like, look, we overworked all of our people. They got sick, and now everything's fucked.
All right, so going back to what Peaches was saying is I don't think that in and of itself helping the populace is a bad thing. I understand where he's coming from when he says the government dictating it to you. We're losing some freedoms in doing that. But I also do think that if left to our own devices, there are a couple idiots out there that will make it bad for the rest of us. And so to protect the rest of humanity, probably, I don't see that as a bad thing. I really don't. I do understand where Peaches is coming from, though, in terms of setting a precedent for limiting our exposure and stuff like that. And I do agree with him on that that's not a kosher thing to do. But in this situation, I think there's a very good chance that we probably won't be as open about it, but I think there is a good chance that we, after this, the paradigm of what American politics is to be considered will be more transparent to that, or more akin, if you will, to that of more of communists, like by political definition, right? Which is, well, we're going to go with the political definition and not necessarily so much the philosophical. But, you know, where it's going to be more or less, you know, state-controlled economics with extreme censorship and, you know, lots and lots of redistribution. You know, I truly foresee that being a very plausible outcome. You know, we've steered so far away from capitalism over the last few decades that it's hard to even say that we are, you know, a republic, a democratic republic that, you know, has a capitalist economy. You know, think about what's happening right now, right? You know, like I mentioned earlier, you know, they're going door to door with police and military, and they're taking up people who are, quote, seeking refuge. We have this giant $2.2 trillion stimulus package that's out there right now. Trump is considering enforceable quarantine throughout New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. And they are going to be specifically using the police and the National Guard to help close the borders of those states. They're talking about the Defense Production Act right now, which they were quoted saying, you know, I hope everybody's buying reasonable amounts but not hoarding. If you're hoarding, you know, that's bad, and we are going to use this act to come and take what you don't need and give it to others, right? So once again, more coercion that they're willing to do out there right now. We have HR 5717 that's out there right now. The actual stimulus package is going to give very little back to the American people that they say they're going to give back to. They're just mostly bailing out government agencies and using it for big fucking businesses. Then you add to the fact that, where do I want to go with this?
So
there's just so much going on.
Excuse me.
Yeah, go ahead. Man.
Excuse me.
Yes, you. Right there in the corner.
So I kind of have a theory about this that I wanted to get your thoughts on. Like, I kind of think that all of this, the direction that everything is heading with this pandemic, and like especially what you had talked about with states like New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, like actually, you know, going the kind of like the 1984 route right now. I think that this will, like, quote unquote, it'll blow over, if you will, and we'll go back to things to be semi normal as we knew them. You know, like no restricted in-house things or anything like that. But I think that what's going on right now is like the government like not really dipping their toes, but kind of like dipping our toes into like giving us like communism light, like just a little taste of it.
Yeah. Well,
that's.
I think. May I get this thought off real quick? Yeah, I just want to say, I'm going to give an example, Javin. I think the surveillance measures right now that are being taken out on the people risk probably more than anything permanently altering how much privacy and freedom we have as individuals, right? I'm going to quote an article here. We'll link it down in the description. But they say at this early stage in the coronavirus, it's not clear or transparent that health benefits they provide as opposed to the isolation and testing policies, but outweigh the price we would have to pay in terms of civil liberty. What they're basically saying is any government that has the ability to do this will have the ability to do this, right? Government activity may have set in motion a paradigm shift in how national prioritize and conceptualize personal freedom. The idea of personal freedom now is now being carried to the safety of those around you. This is what they're talking about, and this is just one example, Javin, of how this could be altered in a permanent state for a very, very long time. And that's just simply the fact that you got a cell phone on you and you log into Facebook and you go on Google and you use it to search things. All of that now is going to be changed forever. You're never going to look at that type of data mining and the way that these large tech companies use that data ever again. It's never going to be the same.
Do you think, see, here's the thing that I have an issue with what you just said, is I think they were already doing that type of thing. Now they're just implementing what they were already doing. I don't think there was really, in a weird way, I don't think there's too much of a difference.
Charging a couple of $1 billion for not handling our data correctly, so you're telling me that.
What I'm saying is I don't think there's too much of a difference between what they were doing 6 months ago and what they're doing now in terms of their capabilities. I think they're just implementing it in a different way now.
Hey, excuse me.
Opinion when you and Gavin meet up and they pull you into a cage, put you before a judge and say, his cell phone said that him and this other guy who's in this courtroom met. He gets 12 months in jail and a $1,500 fine. You going to feel the same way?
As long as they put a collar on my neck and a chain.
I want a serious fucking answer right now.
No. I'm not disagreeing with you. I said they're implementing it in a different way, but I don't think they're tracking us in any way that they weren't doing before. I can tell you from firsthand experience when I was a marketing manager that I had people come into my office and tell me that we can market specific ads to people that show up at this Home Depot.
And I'm not saying that the data right now doesn't have the ability or isn't already being used. I'm saying the way that they're going to use it against you will change forever.
Yeah, no, we're arguing the same point right now, but
okay. But I want to
dude. Eventually, hold on. Eventually, I am going to be able. Eventually, I am going to have enough footage of just you guys coming to the conclusion of we're arguing the same point to make a small compilation of it, because it happens every fucking time.
Because we
do.
You
guys you get so passionate and you just get so fired up. But no, I did.
It's what makes the time in bed just so good and passionate.
Oh God! I mean, I was getting into it. I was letting it ride. It was great. But can we take a 5-minute break real quick?
The argument to be made that they're doing this, like,
or not?
Scale,
Let's just not do that, Alex.
What they're doing, like, this is the same thing they've always been doing. They're just now implementing it differently. That's the only point I wanted to make. Agreed?
Yeah.
All right.
So, anyways, Javin. That's just one example of how things could change dramatically. I do agree with you that it has a chance to be a slight change or no change at all. obviously, I want to be pessimistic and say that everything's going to go back to normal. I'm very, very skeptical of that.
You mean optimistic?
Optimistic. That's the word. Apparently, yeah. I'm just pessimist by nature.
you just jump right to the pessimism. No, I mean, I don't know. For me, I don't see it. I don't know. I don't see it going all the way in yet. You know, I really feel like this is a test of the government to really see what they could and couldn't, like how far they could step on our toes. You know, just to really see, because I mean, we've been for decades and decades, we've been giving up freedom slowly and slowly and slowly, just in, you know, smaller little increments. That I think it's, you know, I really think this could have just been a test to see really how dependent the people are on the government, really how much faith the people have in the government. I think that is a real testament to this.
Why? I mean, what are you trying to get at when you say that? You don't think, so like, you don't think that we're going to live in this Orwellian vendetta state where, you know, you're black bagged in the middle of the night and you're torn away, or you just like, nah, to go back to the way it was before? Like,
no, I mean, I don't mean, I think that we are on a trajectory to go towards, you know, the vendetta example and all that. But I think that right now, I don't think that we are directly headed that way. I think that this is like the first test of you know, how we are really reacting to blatant communist principles like being exhibited in our day-to-day life. And I think that the pandemic will, you know, be you know, it'll get subdued, get under control after some point, and that's when I think that life will potentially go back to, you know, a more normal state as it was before. But I think that this is like this could potentially be the groundwork for something much, much larger. You know, it's a test. And that's just a wild theory I have. I'm not saying that there's anything credible to that. I'm not trying to justify that in any way. That's just something that I had been mulling over for the past couple of days.
Alex, I know you're trying to get a point in. Let me just throw something out, Gavin. I want you to ponder on it, right? So what if you were to be presented some really weird, maybe not directly linked, but more inferred upon evidence that this has been going on a lot longer, right? Like, let's go back to Alex and Alex's example with the supposed FEMA camps and the boxes, right? Those have been around for a long time now, right? Those have actually been around since Obama's first term, if not a little bit before that, right? And I literally just showed you the patent for it that says it's to carry cadaver and burn it without.
Wasn't the patent from 1995?
Yeah, it's a lot longer than that. But I was saying the FEMA camp.
Oh.
The patent's been around a long time, yeah. So, I don't know, man. We'll get into that. I do want to expand on that if you guys are okay with that. But Alex, I know you were trying to get a point in.
Yeah, and this is where I think the ultimate point where I probably disagree with both of you.
You bastard.
I would say that either one of you are wrong, but actually I don't even disagree with you. I think the only issue I have with your arguments, because I do agree with the fundamentals of your arguments, for sure. But I think it would be one thing if America was the only country doing what they're doing. It would be way easier for me as a viewer to buy into what you're saying if we were the only country doing that. The problem to me is I see every country doing a very similar thing. And so to say, and again, if we're going back in time, I agree with you, Peaches, in the sense that we've been doing this for a very long time, and it is concerning. But for this exact instance, I don't think we're doing anything out of the ordinary. So to me, I don't see that as necessarily something that's dark. I think we're kind of just following the general collective of global nations. I don't think we're doing anything out of the ordinary in that regard.
Following the rule of what is it, the
who?
The large group effect or whatever that study was.
The Mandela effect?
Bandwagon effect.
No, not the Mandela effect.
No, the bandwagon effect.
Bandwagon effect.
Literally called the bandwagon effect.
Yeah, that's exactly it. No,
What the fuck I'm talking about?
before I say anything, what I'm about to say is not even a rebuttal. Everybody needs to know, and this is not even directed towards Alex, it's just directed towards anybody listening. Everybody can disagree, right? There is technically no right or wrong answer with this, because some people are okay with X and other people are not okay with X. Some people want to be this way, other people want to be that way. So Alex, I mean, he is perfectly right to believe what he believes, despite the fact that I disagree with him, right? But again, I mean, Alex, just because other people are doing it doesn't make it right, dude. Just because other people are doing the same damn thing. The only difference is,
I'm not
we get to see
that.
The only difference is, Alex, we get to see a little bit into the future, because all these countries got affected, had a response to this before we did, right? Go take a look at what's happening in the UK right now. That's not all right. But guess what? When everybody starts doing it, all of a sudden, like, now it's going to be all right. And then when people are actually, let's take it to the extreme. People are being infected on a mass level, and they decide, you know what, best way to handle it is to force people into their homes, and we're going to drag the people who are out, put them in these black boxes, and burn it, right? Let's go the opposite direction. And everybody's doing it. Does that make it right? That's a fallacy, Alex. That's a fallacy.
Dude, I wasn't saying that. What I was saying was, for me as a viewer, listening to the argument, it's harder to understand your argument if everybody is doing it. I wasn't saying it's not factual or plausible.
No, that was back to your point, which is one of the reasons why I'm not worried is other countries are doing the same thing we're doing. You said that. That was my response to that particular statement.
But I was taking on a third-person perspective as I was talking, which I said at the beginning.
Well, quit changing your perspective and just ask direct questions, okay?
Your statement.
No.
No, if you want my personal opinion, like, you and me 100%, like, in this situation, but this is from a biological perspective, and I can't say that I have a political perspective on this, which is why I do agree with you on the political element of it. What I'm saying, though, from a biological understanding systems, pandemics, viruses, is I do believe this is the right way to go about it.
Okay, then Alex.
I do understand where you're coming from, and I can see those points, and I do believe they to be valid. I'm just saying, from a pandemic perspective, I agree with everything that's happening right now, and I think more should happen. I'm not talking about economics. I'm not talking about politics. I'm talking about the simple health precursors and precautions we need to take. I agree with those.
Okay.
100%.
So just to entertain CJ's thought a little bit, and also, Alex, what, coming from your biological standpoint, right, and just looking at this from there, where would you draw the line, I guess, politically, as far as how far would you let the invasiveness of the government continue until you were like, all right, this is outweighing the health factors or the biological factors?
I would say 2 days ago, before they started closing down state borders, I would say I would limit it to closing down national borders. I agree with. Closing down state borders, I don't agree with. Closing down city borders, I don't agree with. Issuing a stay-at-home recommendation, I agree with. Closing down businesses that are not pertinent to society, agree with. But everything other than that, yeah, no, I definitely don't agree with. That's, again, this is why I'm saying, politically and all that, I definitely agree with Peaches on these issues.
I'm curious, though, and I think what maybe I heard wrong. I think maybe Gavin was trying to get more of this is just purely from a biological perspective. Where would it end?
Oh, dude, people are going to die. Like, a lot of people are going to die. And it's going to take a long period of time. The question really is how quickly do we want them to die, and what is the survival percentage we're okay with? Ultimately, that's what it comes down to. Because if we want this to go away quickly, we can just let everybody do whatever the fuck they want. But the survival rate is going to be way lower than it is. So really, to me, the question really is what is society okay with handling in terms of a survival rate from a biological point of view?
I was thinking about something kind of along those lines, like how, I mean, I think nature has a pretty good way of sorting itself out to a certain degree. And like, you know, how, I don't know how, if something really is, you know, spreading at the rate that this is spreading, like how much can you really stop it from reaching people? You know, like it might, I don't know. And
so that's the thing for me. It's again, and I think I've said this before, but it's not about how many people is this ultimately going to affect. Like, the number is probably going to be very similar, whether we do whatever the fuck we want or not. The issue really for me is how many people are we willing to let get sick and then not have medical treatment for? That's the difference. That's the biggest difference for me. So that's why I do believe what the government is doing, I do believe that to be correct. Now I realize it opens up a can of worms that Peaches has highlighted and probably aren't okay. But ultimately, it's as a society, how many people are we okay with dying? And how many people are we okay with dying horribly? Because they're not going to go peacefully. They have no treatment. They're basically going to suffocate in fluid in their own lungs. It's not going to be pleasant. And a lot more people are going to die because of not self-quarantining, not imposing these travel restrictions. That's ultimately my issue. It's more humanistic, whatever, which is weird because I'm a nihilist, and probably more of us should die, but the moment it got real, when I realized, like, you guys are susceptible, when my parents are susceptible, you know, it went from abstract to concrete real quick. And I'm a human, and I care about people. So the real question, I think, from a biological point of view is, how many people are you okay with dying, ultimately, and suffering while they die? It's not a bullet to the head. You know?
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess the more we talk about this, like the question I came into all this with was like, what's the, you know, kind of what is the line basically of you know, protection and infringement. And I think it really just, I don't think there is a clear answer on that because, you know, I just, it's almost interesting how little like the two ideas really can communicate with each other. Like they're just two such separate arguments that I really don't think you can find that line.
It's true. I think that's probably the source of this epidemic.
And can you ask that question again, but maybe rephrase it?
I think that the political aspect of this and the biological aspect of this are just they're so separated, they're so far apart that they're not even, you can't really even argue the two because I'm just, you know, they don't coincide. Even just the way we view things as humans, like Alex just said, you know, as soon as he realized that people he knew could have been affected, it went from abstract to concrete, just like that. Whereas, you know, I think from a political lens, it's harder for it to go abstract to concrete, like, you know, kind of bringing up what Alex had said earlier, how we live in we live in Colorado, and we're not seeing the full effects of this yet. So we're not in that lens of like the real stringent shit happening right outside our doors.
But I think Peaches is also saying that just as it went from abstract to concrete for me, is that if we start seeing people put hoods on and taken away to cages, then that political element becomes abstract to concrete real fast. And that's what he's ultimately worried about. Am I correct?
No, I'm already worried about what's happening right now. And I think anytime we get in a situation like this, it holds the capacity to be the worst of the worst. But Javin, you were going to say something, and then I'd like to say something after.
No, you're good. Please go ahead.
Unfortunately, it's going to come down to your personal opinion. Which one's more important? And it does seem like a lot of people. This is kind of how almost like the discussion started there in the beginning, right? Like a lot of people are scared, right? And instead of relying on their fellow man to do it, they want to rely on their government to do it, and they're okay with that. And I can't change their mind unless I have the same amount of force, if not more, of those that put this idea that it needs to be the government to do this, or it's not going to happen at all. I will say this, though. Natural law in most rational societies takes it number one above everything else. So I don't care where politics and biological and safety and health and everything fall after that, but natural law takes that number one spot, undoubtedly. Right? Just because
are you referring to what is it? The hierarchy of needs? Is that what you're referring to when you say natural laws?
Well, yeah, more like like Thomas Aquinas kind of style. Some of the greater older philosophers of that time. When they talk, or even like Locke, right, or Hobbes, or something. I don't know. There's all these old philosophers that talk about this. When you talk about like natural law, I mean, a good example of natural law is don't kill somebody, right? You have a right not to be killed by your fellow man, right? And if you are, you have a right to defend yourself, right? And that's what I'm talking about is, that is a bit on the extreme side. I will admit to that, but it kind of does paint the picture, right? Just because all this is happening doesn't give you a right to go and shoot your neighbor because you think he's infected or whatever, right? You don't have the ability, you don't have the ability to justify that, but that again, that's on an extreme case. As Javin says, if you just step on the toes little by little, people just start accepting more and more, and their tolerance grows, and they start saying this is the new normal, and they better not take that away. And when they do take that away, well, that's okay. This is the new normal, but they better not take this away, kind of a thing. They just grasp onto that one little bit each and every step as they go. And now we're seeing it full on. Your right to privacy is gone. Your right to movement is gone. Your right to your property has the potential to be gone because they're already talking about that with the Defense Production Act. You have a right to not be detained indefinitely, right? That's kind of a basic human right. It's also in the Constitution, right? Habeas corpus. That's been gone for years, people, right? So when does the line end between all these different arguments that talk about which one is more important? When does it end from either one that says whatever we've done along the way, it justifies what that end result's going to be?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of a bizarre analogy, but it made a lot of sense to me yesterday. I was thinking, did you, either of your parents ever read you the book If You Take a Mouse to the Movies when you were a little kid?
I got a mouse. If you give a mouse a cookie.
Or if you give a mouse a cookie, and actually, that's the way it ends. Is you end up taking a mouse to the movies, and it's just that it was just something that popped into my head yesterday. It's just that little by little, a crumb leads to a whole cookie leads to it's that simple principle.
Milk, can it be better with
Yeah, and it's just I don't know. It's just it's just hard to get a grasp on, I guess from that standpoint, like how slick they really are, like just creeping in little by little until you're like, wait, hold on. How the fuck did you get here?
Yeah, exactly. Like, it creeped up little by little, but some of these things are big things. You know, these weren't little tiny creeps.
No, and they've been
the folks.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say they've been getting infringed on slowly for years and years. You know, it's just this was like the pounce, the leap, kind of.
Right. You know, and to me, like the big slap in the face was when I started seeing some of these places like threaten force against their citizens. You know, and like I said, I'll go back to the El Paso County one, the El Paso County, which is in Colorado. You know, when I read that, you know, you could get a $1,500 fine and or 12 months in jail for violating these orders. I was like, wow. So if I actually
12 months in
myself,
jail also seems like it makes it worse.
Yeah, like instead of just like, you know, no, get back inside kind of thing, or, you know, well, now you're going to be quarantined for, you know, 14 days, whatever it is, right? No, they're going to actually come and use force against you. And guess what? As we've learned in contemporary America, if you try to defend yourself against that force, you will be killed. They will use extreme life-threatening force against you. Yeah. And to me, there is a line, right? When you have the government, it's not just a public service announcement. Now it's stay in or we'll kill you, basically.
I think that's a little exaggerated there, but
no. But you're
really
taking it. Hang on. Take it from the perspective of somebody who really, really wants the right to movement, and they want that to the point where they're willing to die for it. They will die for it.
True, but that also implies that you're pulling out a gun or a hand grenade when they come to get you, which is
that individual unfortunately might do that. I mean, I don't encourage anybody to do that right now. Just for crying out loud, stay inside, I guess, and we'll figure out where the line is and when it's been crossed, because that's what everybody wants to do.
True, but
I'll do it when you do it, kind of a thing.
But ultimately, the life and death element of what you're saying really implies that you take drastic measures at the end for that to happen.
It's either that or be complacent.
Right.
Which we're all going to be complacent.
It's not be complacent, or it's not you're just going to die if they come and get you. Like, you have to work to get shot.
Not really.
Unless, I'm not going to say
Cop sees your dog, sees his own shadow, he'll shoot you.
Dude, I almost
try and shut the door on him. They'll forcibly come out and grab you, and if you try to get them off of you, they'll use more force. And if you continue,
that's
take
true.
measures.
You haven't almost shot his neighbor once, so.
What?
I mean, I'm just saying again. I don't encourage anybody to do this, but I'm painting the picture. This is what's happening right now.
Yeah, and I think that should be drawn on too. Is like we're not, you know, like you said, Alex. You know, the metaphor or the example that CJ is drawing out, like, might be a little, like, not far fetched, but like far out in the realm of things. But you know, it's he's painting that picture of the what ifs. You know, what if it does come to that? Like, what? And I think that's important to think about. I really do. You know, to think of in certain circumstances, to think of the worst case scenario. You know, what if it does come to a level where it is like, you know, and like we've talked about, Alex, like a movie. You know, because every day more and more, this just feels, I don't know, to me, it's just more and more surreal. It's crazy.
Right. But I'm not trying to one-up anybody. The point of this explanation is that I realize that I'm also playing a what-if game. In the sense that, okay, what if everybody goes back to doing whatever the fuck they want? But what if this virus mutates, which they're known to do, and what if that virus becomes even more deadly and more infectious? You know, like, my point is, I can play that game as well. And what I was trying to get to earlier was that hearing Peach's sentiments and just knowing my own sentiments and biases, like you said, I myself am torn on this, because from a biological point of view, I agree with what's happening. But from what Peaches is saying and the precedents that are being set right now, I 100% agree with that too. So there is this conflict that you were talking about, which is like, what to believe, how to implicate it, or implement it in your own life, because it is. They're intersecting, but they're so different, and the implications are drastically different for both sides. And it is mind-boggling.
Yeah.
I'll leave you with that, sir.
Sir, good day.
Yeah.
I don't know, Jeff. You got any final thoughts?
I think that's a great way to leave it out, bud. It's up for you, the viewer, to decide.
Really, and that's I've been trying to write something to end on, and I've kept coming back to that they're really it's where your beliefs lie. You know, it's where your convictions are what you're going to feel about this. Where, you know, whether it's a humanitarian mindset, biological, whatever it is, like wherever your belief system lies, that's what's going to dictate how you feel this is being handled. So really, we're just here to throw some ideas out.
That. Yeah, we're provoking it. I will say, gentlemen, I think this was the most professional, courteous episode we've ever done.
Really? It was.
Yeah. Dude, that was a lively debate, actually. Like,
it was, but it was courteous.
That was...
Yeah, virtual high five.
That
was a good one. I enjoyed it.
Solid, dude.
Emotions
were high.
Really,
mostly from me, but yeah.
My heart was racing it sometimes. It was butterflies.
You may want to check your temperature now, bud.
Oh yeah. That's my pulse. That's my pulse. You told me to check my temperature, and I was like, oh, yep, still alive.
That's good. That's all we really care about right now.
All right, quick, we have 2 shout-outs. One, the shirt that I'm wearing, the Tejon Street Corner Thieves, really good local band. Check them out. They are on Spotify. And then also for the next episode, we're going to discuss we're going to jump on another bandwagon, but we're going to discuss the Tiger King. Alex, if you want to kind of...
Yeah, so I happen to actually be friends with someone who studied big cat conservation and has worked in that field for several years. So if you happen to see or want to watch The Tiger King on Netflix, they will be pertinent to our discussion on the next episode. So we hope you guys do that and take part in the next coming discussion. I can't even put into words the show. You just have to watch it. It is so ridiculous. And once you watch it, you will see why we had a professional conservationist come on the show and talk to you about it.
A lot of people have free time on their hands right now, and I suggest to waste a little bit of it on that, because it's too much for words.
It is, truly.
Peaches, anything you want to throw out?
Yeah, the article I quoted was from Forbes. I'll try and link it, but no promises, because I've been reading a lot lately. But it is from Forbes. I'll try and find it.
All right. Sounds good. Well, I love you guys. Be safe. Don't let the government in. And if you do, don't let them touch your butthole.
And on that note, have a great night. And that was an end to our most professional podcast.
Bye.